What is going on, gents? It's RPM here, coming at you with another episode of Hockey Mask Time. The week of HMT comes to a close. However, it closes on another note. The simple fact that so many men out there are simply snapping. Now, this article was sent to me by Beta Talk 357, and it was published on the 18th of September. Dad killed wife with sledgehammer, then took two young daughters to church before strangling them. Woo! Gentlemen, before I was always a little reserved when talking about children when they die in these scenarios. However, with the news of what the cheerleader who shall not be named did and got away with, pretty much now all bets are off. Anyway, a Canadian man sentenced to life in prison for triple murder said he killed his two young girls, ages 8 and 7, because he didn't want them to grow up knowing he killed their mother. Now, if you pull your emotions out of this, he in fact performed a mercy killing because he did not want them to grow up with the stigma. Because even if they managed to, let's say he just went ahead and put the girls up for adoption, they were still going to find out one day, yes, daddy killed mommy. So in his mind, he said, I'm going to spare them from that. It is what it is. Clara Foreman, 33, died when her husband, Jacob, rose up during an argument over his drinking and hit her 3 times in the head with a sledgehammer. On December 17th, 2017, at the family's home near Kelowna, British Columbia, according to prosecutor, and Foreman's confession read in court on Monday. Wow. A sledgehammer? Somebody might have been playing a little bit of Mortal Kombat and listening to the Gap Band because he went oops upside the head. I said oops upside the head. Yeah, I know I ain't shit, but guess what? Fuck it. What are you doing? Bam! She said during the second and final blows. Prosecutor Murray Kay said in BC Supreme Court, reports the Canadian Press. When the couple's daughters heard their mother's screams coming from their parents' bedroom, Foreman told them she wasn't feeling well and later took the children to church, according to the statement of facts presented in court, reports CBC News. Afterwards, Foreman had the girls dressed in their pajamas before taking the oldest, and I'm not going to read this as much as I should. I'm not. I'm going to skip down. He said to police he thought it would be better for them to go to heaven than grow up in a world where their daddy killed mommy, Kay said in court where Foreman was sentenced. As I said before, that was his thought process. It is what it is. The killer, who brought his trial to a halt with a surprise guilty plea, contemplated suicide after his actions, but instead went to work as usual for the next 2 days before police, who'd been alerted by one of Clara's co-workers who hadn't seen her, found the bodies in the garage of the family's home. Here's the judge. This breach of trust of such young children, vulnerable and trusting of their father, was horrific. Yeah, okay, reserve that same fire for when women kill their children. Oh, wait, they're still victims when they do. Anyway, said Justice Alan Benton, who sounds like he might be a little feminist, but who knows, who sentenced Foreman to the mandatory life sentences for the murder convictions, reports the Canadian Press. Foreman must serve at least 25 years before he's eligible for parole for the 2 first-degree murders of his daughters, with the sentences being served concurrently, followed by 10 years without parole for the second-degree murder of his wife. Foreman's attorney, Raymond Diano, had requested a sentence of 25 years without parole and said after the guilty plea that Foreman believed his acute alcoholism offered him a defense, according to Canadian Press. After Foreman admitted his guilt before he was sentenced, Clara's sister, April Carlson, said the victim's family still cared about him, reports CBC News. Now that's a surprise twist. We don't look at Jacob only as a perpetrator, she said. We look at Jacob as a person going through this with us, with an enormous amount of pain that we can't even understand. Well, that was good for the family to say. Instead of saying off with his head, they're saying, look, this man was going through a whole lot. Now, let me get into the scorecard, shall we? For style and audacity, he did it at home. So automatic 10. Method of execution. Oh, Shao Kahn came out in this one. So you know I got to give this one a perfect score of 30 just for that alone. And for psychological impact. You know, the fact that he made it a family affair, yeah, people aren't going to forget this. So I got to give him a 10 on that. But yeah, he was going to get a perfect score of 30 just for the hammer alone. Yeah. And the fact that she actually had the last thing go through her mind of, what are you doing? Before he served her that final blow. Well, ladies, here you go. More and more men are simply snapping. Why? Because we live in a society, no, scratch that. We live in a world in which disrespect of men is seen as comical. It is something that women feel that they are entitled to do. Men are simply tired. Men have had enough. Men who build, maintain, and protect the world are being told that they're absolutely worthless by the same world. No, ladies. And society wants to sit back and say, why are all these men just going crazy? Why are all these men snapping? Society, you know. Here's the thing about society. Society loves to create a problem that they don't want to solve. Seriously. You want to solve the marriage rate? Make marriage more enticing for men. Give men back their authority in marriage. But then again, it's too little, too late. You know the problem with single mothers? They know what the problem is. However, once again, they're not going to fix it because they don't want to fix it. Now, an old man passed on to me 2 phrases. And once I stepped back and thought about it, it makes perfect sense. It truly does. He told me, he said, listen, society, you got to think of it like Big Pharma. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Now, this was before I retired from the Navy. So, but that shows you just how impactful these 2 statements are. He said, listen, first and foremost, understand this. Peace is not profitable. It truly isn't. And there's always going to be more money in the treatment versus the cure. Trust me, gentlemen, it's always been about money. There's more money in keeping the problem going and arresting people for the problem than it is to actually solve the problem. But what can we say, gentlemen? What can we say? The best thing you could do is say, you know what? I'm going to avoid it altogether. And they're wondering why more and more men have just pulled the fuck out of the relationship game altogether. Nope. So yeah. And besides, this guy obviously had some deep, dark demons that he went to the bottle for. No one ever said, hey, well, why are you going to the bottle? Let's figure this out. If she was truly a supportive wife, she would not have been nagging him and arguing about his alcoholism. She would have been trying to do everything she could to support him and say, hey, honey, you know what? You're having these problems. Okay, let's get you help. Let's figure out the real reason. Let's figure out the deep issue. But no. She did the typical woman thing, which is run off at the mouth and thinking that he wasn't going to do anything about it. Guess what? He finally snapped the hell out and said, okay, cool. I'm going to go ahead and hammer my point home that I'm tired of this shit. Oh well. Read the story. Let me know what you guys think. And ladies, I'm going to keep saying this until you finally fucking get it. When the power goes out, feminism and that false veil of protection that society extends to you that you think is absolutely unbreakable is going to go out right along with it. That's all I got to say for this one. RPM, I am out.
Murder on my mind, yeah. Losing all my hope, yeah. I'ma do the crime, yeah. Fuck the red or blue, I'ma take the black pill, yeah. Fuck the red or blue, I'ma take the black pill.